My friends, check out HomeTitleLock.com. You may have heard of this. It's a scam where they try and rip you off. And I was talking to Allison about it, and I was like, "Is this for real?" And she was like, "Yeah, actually, I think we've heard some stories of this had happened because people don't really check this stuff once the paperwork's filed." So we got something for you. Have you guys heard about? You guys have heard about this? We just mentioned it. The FBI is calling this house stealing. It's real. It's becoming more common. People don't even think about checking their title to their home or investment properties. And it's exactly what scammers are counting on. So in today's economy, you got to stay vigilant and protect what may be your most valuable financial asset. And this is legit. This is how generational wealth is transferred. It's your home. So here's how it works. A scammer will file a quitclaim deed using your information, forging your signature, stamping it with a phony notary seal, filing it with the county. And just like that, your property isn't legally yours anymore. They're not interested in your home. They're after the equity. They'll take out loans using your property as collateral, then disappear, leaving you to deal with the financial and legal fallout. So I think this is pretty serious. I think you guys should take it serious. So check out Home Title Lock. They monitor your title 24/7. They alert you to any changes on your title, and they work fast to restore your title with no out-of-pocket costs if fraud does occur. So don't wait until it's too late. You can get a free 30-day trial, free title history report when you use the promo code TIM at HomeTitleLock.com, or use the link in the description below. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code TIM for 30 days of protection and a title report for free. From the New York Post, guys, Luigi Mangione, he's not a right-winger. He's not anti-woke. He's a leftist, okay? Accused CEO murderer Luigi Mangione grins at hearing to fight extradition to New York after screaming outburst on the way in. Well, let me play the video for you over here from ABC News, and you can hear him rant. And what he said is leftist coded language. So there's another story, and I want to stress, where they're saying that a friend of his says he was anti-woke. No, spare me, dude. Listen.
And completely outdone and insult the intelligence of the American people and lived experience.
Okay, so if you couldn't hear it, we have a transcription. They say it's completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people and the lived experience. He likely wanted to say more after that, but lived experience is literal leftist-coded cult language.
That's the dead giveaway, yeah.
Listen.
That's like saying my truth.
Yep.
Started up there with
that. Lived experience is such an esoteric phrase that if you went to any mall in this country and walked to someone and said, define lived experience, they would go, huh? Like, you mean like life experience? What does that mean? But if you're in the cult, you know exactly what's being said, okay? That is not something, like, you have to be in the cult to
no
understand
right-winger
this.
is going to talk about lived experience.
Yeah,
No,
it'd
it's
be like,
normie.
true.
What is your life like is the way I would ask a question like that. But I think they're more, what that question means is your lived experiences. How do you perceive the way you're being treated by your surroundings? How do you feel, not necessarily wronged, but how do you feel, how do you feel you've been treated by your surroundings? It's different than like, what's your life like? Like, what is your life like? What's your lived experience?
Lived experience is
how did you experience
it
the
privileges
events in your
their
life?
subjective experience. So
Yes.
it basically stops any kind of objective conversation of like, no, this is my lived experience.
You know, what's funny about this is this guy is like an Ivy Leaguer, right? And we're supposed to assume that he's a smart guy. And like, wow, he had the dream life. But I just want to express to people, back in the day when university was unattainable, when it was very difficult and you had to be wealthy and these are longstanding institutions, yeah, the smartest people got to go to them for the most part. Now, anyone who wants to take out massive 5-figure loans can go to them. Just because, you know, actually, what show was I watching? It was Tulsa King, I think. I just binged the whole thing. And I think he's talking to, Sylvester Stallone's talking to the kid, and he says, the point of a degree is so that you can prove to your boss that you'll sit down, shut up, and do as you're told for a long period of time. That's what a degree gets you. That's why they'll hire you.
It's like a finishing school in a way.
Yeah.
This guy, I bet, had really good ability to memorize information. Like, if he was this, I don't know that he's actually the killer. It's still alleged.
Seemingly uninterested in actually looking for the information.
Yeah, like he is like, I just can't put these things together, but these are the ideas I have learned. And if he was a methodical killer, the way he did it was very like planned and scripted and done.
He probably thought he was like igniting a spark. I've seen some people comparing him to the Robert Palmer idea, you know, from Fight Club, which, you know, I love that movie, but it's a silly comparison. But yeah, I don't know. He probably thought
Robert Paulson?
Robert Paulson, that's right. Yeah.
Robert
Don't be
Palmer's
smirched,
the
Fight Club.
musician.
Not among a bunch of millennial men.
Oh,
wait,
no.
there's only
I'm gonna
two.
get stoned
right?
together.
So this guy, I think I would give him high intelligence, low wisdom if I have to make him a D&D character. Maybe.
I think you're wrong.
Well, he's able to memorize. If he's valedictorian, he's obviously got memorization capability, but
that's not
his ability to
intelligence.
associate ideas is lax.
Being able to memorize, like there are people who are developmentally disabled who can remember every moment of their life, and they couldn't drive a car.
Right, yeah.
Actually, this is true too. There are some people who are not developmentally disabled, but there's a phenomenon where they have perfect recall, and it's considered to be some kind of a disability because it actually is difficult to navigate the present. So there are people you can go to them and say, September 17th, 2013, 5 a.m., and they will literally tell you exactly what they were doing.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that sounds like an
they call them savants.
Right, they call
Idiot
it
savant was like a term that they would use.
Yeah.
Like they were terrible at a lot of things, but very good at that one.
This guy doesn't seem smart in any respect.
Well, if he was valedictorian, he must have had memorization capability. And the way that murder was carried out was like very methodical. But then he's found with the IDs.
Yeah, not
and
very smart.
That's not smart.
Unless, as some people are speculating, he was intending to get caught so that he could have these lived experience outbursts with the police.
Right. The way he screamed
And
lived experience, I was like, that's the guy. But
I actually was thinking this. Why was he sitting in McDonald's with a backpack full of all this stuff, right? After the killing, there was a debate in the media as to whether or not it was a lover's tryst or related to ransomware or ideological. We don't know. And so if this dude, he's accused, he's not confirmed, but if he's ideologically driven, he's going, no, it should be obvious. It should be obvious why I did it. So he knew he had to get caught so that he could make sure the narrative was his political ideology.
I think that's true. Even if it was a subconscious, but I think so. I think that's literally he wanted this narrative to get pushed.
Well, didn't he live in? When was the last place that we know that he lived? I thought it was in Honolulu, right? So I mean, look, it's not easy to get to Hawaii. You need to get on a plane, and once the pictures got out, it was unlikely that he would be able to make it through an airport, considering he got ID'd in a McDonald's. So maybe he didn't have anywhere to go.
Did you see those pictures from McDonald's, though? He was wearing an orange beanie and a black poofy jacket. And I got to be honest, like, I see a bunch of people on X saying, how did anyone recognize him as the shooter? That's
eyebrows.
But he was wearing a brown beanie. He was wearing totally different clothes. And there's a photo of him from, like, decently close to him. And it's like, did someone walk up to him and snap a picture and call the cops?
I don't know. I'm always amazed in these situations when people in the common world, in the real world, identify these people, because even if I recognize someone or think I do, I'm still going to be like, I'm probably wrong. But there are people who they see someone and they're like, I think that's the guy. I don't know.
I will.
Go ahead.
I will add, a lot of people come up to me and say, you look like this guy, Tim Pool.
Yeah.
They don't just say, hey, I'm a big fan. They say, you look like this guy.
Yeah,
that
happened to me a couple weeks ago.
Right,
I was like, you look like that guy on Timcast. I'm like, well, I am that guy on
See,
Timcast.
I would just assume that I'm getting it wrong, right? And so it's interesting to me how some people actually are just so sure. I recognize that guy.
Maybe it's this simple. We didn't hear all of the stories where the tips failed, right?
True.
So for all we know, in Westchester, PA, somebody called the cops saying, I think I found the guy. And there's local cops not doing anything. And they say, we'll drive down and take a look. They drive up and they see some random guy and they go, that's just a random guy. If that happens 10,000 times, no one's going to hear about it. But the one time it does, they got him.
Yeah.
Right.
This guy has this stark face, too. He has got a really, really kind of a standout face. If he didn't want to get caught, he should have shaved his eyebrows, I guess, in retrospect.
I mean, the eyebrows were definitely a distinguishing feature on him, or a distinctive feature. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not the kind of person that sits there and like is looking around. Who's this guy? Who's that? Does that? Blah blah blah.
Right.
So I probably wouldn't have been like, yo, that's the dude, because again, thick eyebrows is real tough to be like, that's the guy,
I wonder why it is we found out this guy's literal life story. We know about every drug he's taken, every book he's read, his opinions on the Unabomber, and we've learned nothing of Trump's assassin.
Attempted assassin.
Right.
Failed assassin.
Failed assassin.
You're talking about Thomas Crooks?
Nobody knows anything about him. He just showed up one day and slipped through like a oily snake. Made it to the top of that building that nobody was on top of for some reason. And this guy, it's like within a couple of days, it's like we can tell you how many like zits he's had.
Yeah, this is like that underwater submersible implosion taking the world's attention by storm, where everyone's interested in finding this. What drugs has he
was
taken?
that guy Stockton Rush? Was that his name?
I don't know. The owner of the submersible? I don't know.
I mean, you don't really think that it's a conspiracy in this case, though, right? With this
No.
You think it's yeah.
I mean,
But I understand the frustration that people feel about the way that the Trump assassination attempt just sort of slipped away from.
And Secret Service.
No. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying there's a conspiracy to cover anything up. I don't know. I certainly think the official narrative on the Trump assessation is complete nonsense.
Attempted assassination.
Sorry.
It must manifest that the attempt
Yeah,
failed.
It failed. But there's a lot of people who are saying this is a psyop because when they first released the person of interest photos, I'm like, that's not the same guy. You look at the picture of the video of the assassination of the CEO. That was weird. The picture of the CEO. And it looks like a guy has a little heavier set, and he seems to have thinner eyebrows and appears to be older, but who knows?
Because the camera was above. I heard you say that, and it didn't make sense. He did look heavier, but it might have been the angle of the camera pointing
There's
down
two
at him.
different camera angles. And his jacket could be poofy because he's wearing a
That's true,
sweater.
too.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
he had a bunch of gear on him.
He could have
maybe.
had two jackets on because
Yeah, I
he
wouldn't
wanted to pull one off and throw it away.
Yeah.
I wouldn't read too much in that. Yeah. But
So that's what I'm saying. Like at the time, I thought when they said, here's a photo of a person of interest, everybody said, that's the shooter. And I'm like, oh, hold on there. This has happened before where people rush to accuse a person of interest of being the shooter or the bomber. And I'm not going to name the specific instance, but 10 years ago, there was a very, very serious incident where the wrong person was ID'd and it caused a lot of problems. And I'm like, a person of interest could be a guy they saw on camera, give him a high five. And they're like, how does that person know him? We want to talk to him.
right.
But everybody just said it was the shooter. Well, now they're saying it was, so.
You know, and I think you mentioned that the healthcare industry, the whole system is kind of busted up. Like the whole pharmaceutical industry, the food and drug, but the way that they'll create, toxic chemicals in the food supply that will then poison people, and then they feed them medicine, and they profit off of both arms. Like I don't think there's a silver bullet. I don't think that there is an immediate drastic solution like what this guy thought that ending, if this was the guy, killing a CEO is going to solve anything. That's why I support RFK in positions of power in the government, because I think it's we got into this in a long, slow way, and it's going to be a long, slow path out. I heard they're going to maybe ban Red 40 out of the
Red 3.
Red 3, one of the red azo dyes out of the food supply, which is like, hey man, that's a step.
Honestly,
Red
I
3.
think the fastest way to do it is to limit the government's ability, or to limit the government's involvement. If you put healthcare, not health insurance, but if you put care on the market, if they said that the hospitals and doctors, they have to put their prices, make their prices available for people to look at, and make it possible for you to go from one doctor to another doctor and try out, see, hey, this doctor will do the procedure I want for cheaper. Unless you're dealing with something that's really, really bad or like specialized, like cancer, when it comes to broken legs or broken bones, or if you need antibiotics because you got an infection, you got a cut that's infected or whatever. If you put that stuff on the market, you'll see the price of healthcare, that kind of healthcare, go down significantly, really, really, really fast.
That'd be
But
great.
the fact of the matter, and you should not need insurance because you broke a bone.
Well, I think one of the things that we could do a better job of really trying to foreground for people is just the sheer massive unnecessary amount of bureaucracy involved now. And like for instance, I know doctors who've been in the industry for decades, and they're counseling people, don't get into this industry because you're going to spend 90% of your time doing paperwork.
Yep.
90% of a doctor's time spent doing paperwork, and a lot of that is tied up with the government and government requirements. And so I think that these are things that should be foregrounded in any discussion. But
this is my exact point. And when it comes to the healthcare situation in the United States, this is probably where I am most libertarian, because it's not a market at all. There's no competition.
Right.
The insurance companies pay the doctors. The doctors put prices that are exorbitant because they can. You know, I mean, you hear people talking about, you know, $50 for 2 Tylenol when they were in, or whatever. Like, these kind of things should not be, they should not cost as much as they do. And if you had a market where there was competition, all of these things would drop significantly. I got LASIK in my eye, like lasers shot in my eyes, like 13 years ago in 2012. And it was very inexpensive considering the procedure then. And I imagine it's significantly less money now.
This is why people go to Mexico for healthcare.
100%.
That's nuts. Everybody I know, okay, not literally everybody. I have tons of friends who are just like, if you can take a ride down to Tijuana, you're going to get, like, I was talking to Luke about it. Luke was saying, like, they do, what do? They do this thing where to make the dental work heal faster, they will take your own blood, spin it to get the platelets, and then inject the platelets so that it heals real quick.
Is that PRP, platelet-rich plasma?
Something like that. And it's like things they don't do in the U.S., they do down there for like a fraction of the price. It's wild. Yeah, and it's regulation. It's not that we can't do it. It's that they're over-regulating.
Yeah, it is. And it's, I think the reason it's overregulated is because they want to mitigate harm. They want to make sure that on the off chance of the 99 people that get the project, one of the people is going to be hurt. They're like, no, then you can't do the project. But like, when it comes to,
I don't agree.
No. Well, why do you think it's overregulated?
I think it's more like the government comes up to the doctor and says, hey, you know, maybe you give us a little piece of what you're doing and you come to us before you do it. And they're like, that's going to take me months. Well, we want a little taste.
It started because the government wanted to put controls on how much money people could be paid. So in response, companies started saying, well, we'll offer this benefit package. We'll pay for your health care. We'll pay for this. We'll pay for that. So there were when the government stepped in and said, you can't pay these people more than this because this job is only worth this much, et cetera. Then the companies had to come up with other ways to attract the best workers. So the way that they did it was they came up with benefit packages.
And people don't know this. I think everybody should know this. I, as an employer, cannot legally hire a janitor and pay him 6 figures.
You can't?
I cannot do it.
Is considered like tax fraud or something?
Yes, you have to. You are required to write out what the job position is, and the rate must be market. There's a range, and if you're overpaying, you're going to get audited. Yep. Now, depending on the size of the company,
serious?
Yeah, people don't know this stuff. So I remember when we first started this company, I was like, hey, I want to buy my mom a house. You know, like my mom deserves a house, and I have a successful show, and they said, well, you can't do that. I was like, what do you mean I can't? Why can't I? I was like, I got money now, right? I could buy a house, you take out a loan, and pay the down payment. I'm like, no, and they're like, no, that would be an illegal gift. Now, if you want to
family, how crazy?
Now there are certain things you can file up to $15,000 this year. You can gift somebody, and you don't need to do anything. Beyond that, you have to file for a gift for the year, and then there's taxes that have to be taken out of it. So you can transfer money, but that's huge taxes. I said, okay, so what if I what if I buy the house? Then what taxes? And they're like, okay, well then your mom would have to pay income tax on the house. So if the house costs $200,000, she owes 27%. And I'm buying. Can I pay that? And then there's this diminishing return where it's like, yes, you can pay the taxes, but it's still more income. So it's a diminishing. You have to like basically overpay to stop it from happening. So there are ways you can do it, but it's overly complicated. So I was talking to him and I said, can I hire my mom for a job? And he goes, it has to be a real job. And I was like, yeah, she could do something. And he was like, if you pay anyone above market, they have to have a position with a job description. Wow. And it has to be, and you have to be able to prove upon audit they do that job. Because understand, there are lots of wealthy people that would love to hire a family member for a ridiculous salary so they could funnel money to another company, to a family, to a friend, or whatever. And so that's why these laws exist. So let me just stress it one more time. Phil, 100% correct. We have a list of every employee here. Their job title is a legitimate title that is recognized by the government, and it has to fit the parameters of what people get paid. If we go above that, we risk getting audited and accused of trying to skip on taxes.
So this is why these CEOs will have salaries. I'm actually asking of like, meager means $600,000 a year, whatever. And then
Bezos gets $83,000 a month.
And then his benefits are.
Yes, I believe Bezos gets $83,000.
That's kind of roll a Hunter Biden
His salary is $1 million a year.
Okay, that's like what Hunter was getting at Burisma, I think.
86?
83,000 a month.
83.
Don't want to mix him up with Hunter Biden's payments from Burisma.
But that's because I think it comes down to $1 million a year.
So then the benefits is where, and then companies get creative with benefits, and that's how they funnel wealth into their employment.
So one common practice is, okay, so this job is you're a software engineer, you make $120,000 a year. You can get paid more. You can say this person's getting 150, the market rate is 120. That's reasonable. And you can arguably say, well, this is the best engineer in the world. We're paying him double, and that's still technically reasonable. What they end up doing is they'll say, okay, we're going to hire you at 120 market rate. We're going to give you another 120 in CDs to be paid out half at this point, so it doesn't appear as income, and you'll pay taxes in the year after your contract expires. So they'll say a 3-year contract to complete the project. Once the project is over, you're going to have a CD that you can then cash out. So your taxes, so for that year, you'll receive capital gains income or whatever, and it will be taxed at a different rate. There's a whole bunch of ways powerful and wealthy individuals navigate the tax system that people don't understand. But I just want to say this one more time. The government doesn't let you give money to anybody you want. The government doesn't let you hire anybody you want. And so what Phil's saying is companies then say, okay, we'll pay for your health insurance. We'll pay. And now we've created this ridiculous system that's very weird. And it's like, break a bone, I hope you have a job. And it's like, no, hold on. You should be able to pay for it. So you probably need a job in the first place. But why is it that when you get hired, your employer has to give you health insurance? That's just the weirdest thing ever.
And it all started because of government intervention. The government shouldn't have, and the government has no right to do this, but a large part of the justification, just like Tim said, is because of taxes. It's because the government will say, well, you're doing this so that way you can evade taxes. So the income tax, which is, I mean, I find that to be terrible policy anyways. It is used to control people in ways that most people don't even think about. You know, it's the income tax is why the dollar has value, which we've talked about before. The fact that the income tax is required to be paid in U.S. dollars, that's what allowed them to take the backing of gold and silver away. It used to be the gold and silver backed the dollar, and that's what gave it value. But now, because of the income tax, they've created what they call modern monetary theory, where taxation is what gives the dollar value because there's always going to be a demand for dollars.
Here's another great comment from a healthy user. Tim's employees should be 1099 contracts so he can pay them whatever they want. Also illegal. That's called permalancing, and it's a very serious crime. You're not allowed to do that. And so when we talk to people, you know, I hear these comments on, I went to go work for, I got a contract offer from insert media company and they wanted to own everything I had. And I'm like, yeah, that's like a legal requirement. Like, blame the government for all of this. Stop blaming corporations for doing what the government is forcing them to do and start blaming the government. And then we can get Thomas Massey and Rand Paul. We can get Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and they can start ripping to shreds the bureaucracy, firing people who shouldn't be there, and figure out why things are regulated in such ridiculous ways.
Yeah, I can see why you would want to protect. Okay, so a guy, he's like, I sell a product, I make $100 billion a year, I want to give 50 billion of it to my brother, and we'll just say that's his salary. I see why someone's got to be like, hold on there.
Why?
I don't know. I guess because it can be be abused.
A father works his hands to the bone. Literally, his fingertips are gone and it's just bone sticking out. And he's like, I am an old man and I have made $50 million so I can give to my children. And the government goes, no, we get half. First, we're going to tax it at 37%. You're going to pay on average. Look, if a wealthy person is playing their cards right with a tax lawyer and an accountant, then depending on where they're making their money, if it's income, it's going to be 37%. Then you got property taxes and everything else. If they're playing loopholes with capital gains, they can make a lot of money doing other things. But let's just say someone does physical labor to the point where they made $50 million. They get taxed at 37% on everything above, I think it's like 270 something thousand. No, it might be like 360 right now if he's married. And then so the majority of it is taxed at basically more than a third. Then when he dies, they take another half of that. Why can't someone just give their family member money having earned it if they if they
or
so
their
choose?
friend? Like, why does it have to stop at family? I mean,
So what they do is they either create limited liability corporations where they start a company with a family member and then say, I'm investing $1 billion into this company, of which my son is a 50% shareholder. Then so remember when Mark Zuckerberg announced he was giving away all his money and everybody clapped and they were like, wow, he's giving away his money. So I could be wrong about this. You can fact check me.
I always think those pledges are crocs of.
Yeah, it's you give your money to a corporation, so you give away your money, and then it's basically protected
like
from
a trust.
Right,
That's what
a
trusts
trust.
are. You put
Right.
money in a trust, and then
it is-
later on it pays you back.
It is kind of
It'd be
wild.
like a family trust or something.
There are trusts out of Delaware where you basically don't pay any taxes, and so the argument is. I could be totally wrong about this because I don't do it, but I had talked to a tax lawyer and he's like, here's what you do. You get a specific kind of trust out of Delaware. It costs $5,000 a year to maintain with the state. All of your money goes into this trust, and the trust acts as the legal entity that does the financial dealings. A trust is not an entity that can be taxed, so if it makes capital gains, it doesn't get taxed itself. Then when you pull the money out, you get taxed on it, but it basically avoids double taxation, and it allows you to make capital gains without, in the immediate, the trust is just being replenished and you're getting wealthier.
Right. So there's loopholes. I think that there's a real disconnect between a lot of the underlying government causes of a lot of these frustrations and problems that people have and people's awareness of it. And we're talking about Taylor Lorenz last night and her laughable comments. And I think that, there's so many people actually like her out there who have some vague sense that there's something wrong with our healthcare system. And it's just easier and more symbolically satisfying to blame it on the CEOs of insurance companies than to actually get into the muck of really dissecting what's going on here with this. A lot of it having to do with government interference and regulation.
Yeah, but I do think the government has a role, and that's the government being an arm of the people coming together socially and being like, we're going to ban certain products from sale in our country, like certain poisons that are very profitable and addictive to the human body, maybe like, I don't know, azo dyes in general. I don't know how addictive they are, but like petroleum-based food coloring apparently causes hypertension or can lead to hypertension in children and humans, which can cause inflammation. So like maybe we could ban that stuff like RFK's.
When you look at the U.S. versus Europe, there's a joke among people who have ever traveled to Europe that you feel so much better after you've been away from this place and the food that we eat for a while. And that's because actually, if you go to Europe, a lot of the time you're getting food more or less sort of straight from the source, like straight from the source, American Gangster reference there. But you are more or less, the fish was caught right over here or what have you. And over here, it's just, it seems like there's so many more processes.
That does exist if you're wealthy.
Right.
So for the average poor American, you're basically being forced to eat garbage. And I say forced lightly. You go to the grocery store, you make a choice, okay? And I was telling this story a couple weeks ago. Alice and I went to the grocery store, and I love getting little cottage cheeses. It's very healthy. It's keto friendly, they call it. And Allison grabbed a pack of this, I don't know what the company is, and I looked at the ingredients, and it's got a bunch of weird garbage in it. It's got emulsifiers and stuff. Daisy, which does the sour cream and the cottage cheese, their ingredients, it's like skim milk, cream, salt. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy that.
Right.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, they're eating Kraft macaroni and cheese. They're eating these like off-the-shelf products with tartrazine and red dye 3 and those other things because it's cheap. They're not getting proper nutrition. They're not getting proper diets. They're getting morbidly obese. They're getting chronic illness. RFK Jr. is right.
And it sort of is an extrapolation of the lion diet that Michaela Peterson talks a lot about, which ultimately, from her, what she's explained it is, it's just all meat. Whatever a lion would eat, that's what she eats. And so it's like
Hyena.
beef and like et cetera, and salt. But then what's really happening is it's an elimination diet. All the stuff you don't eat, all the stuff you've taken out of your diet.
Toxic
I think,
stuff.
Yeah, I think that's what the government should be doing is providing a sort of elimination diet now for our populace.
But this is a big trend among millennials. Like soda consumption is massively down. And that's why there's these commercials popping up where it's the Coalition of Soda Drinks of America. Did you know that we have low sugar options? And then there's like a guy in a white lab coat and they like show all these things. And I'm like, I have here a Spindrift. They do not sponsor the show, but I will shout them out. Why? Ingredients: carbonated water, grapefruit juice, orange juice, lemon juice, hibiscus.
I love it so
That's
much.
awesome.
The pineapple. I'm like shooting myself in the foot with this. The pineapple Spindrift is so good, and I tell people that on stream, and then it sells out, and it's so frustrating because I get it on Amazon, and then it's like $6 for 12 of them, or for 8 of them, and then they're sold out.
This is
I
what
talk
soda
about it
should
online.
be.
But I want to spread the wealth.
It's got 4 carbs, 3 of it is sugars, and there's no sugar added. It's just sparkling water with a little fruit juice. I don't want to drink a bottle of syrup, okay? But there are a lot of people go to the store, they pick up a Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever it is, get their high fructose corn syrup. Maybe they can't afford the Spindrifts. I don't know.
Or they don't know they exist. I think a lot of people, it's still kind of...
We're going to make America healthy again.
Yeah, we are.
So help us. We will do it.
You gotta be careful with that
last
stuff
thing
on
we
your
do.
That stuff will rip your teeth up, though. I was drinking a lot of Spindrift. It put holes in my enamel. I don't know if I can blame
Carbonation?
solely the. Yeah, I think it's the carbonation.
No,
itself.
it's the acid. But
Yeah.
soda will do worse.
Fruit juice has a lot of acid
Lemon
in it.
will do worse.
Oh, for sure. Soda's a million times. I mean, I don't know how
Right.
many times worse, but all that sugar.
You got a raspberry lime over there. Spindrift is the best. Okay.
It's so good, and you can add juice to it too, like a really good organic.
So I go to the
peach juice. I pour a little bit into my Spindrift.
I go to a restaurant. I say, give me a club soda with some lemon. That's what I drink. So when I saw Spindrift, which is basically a club soda with lemon, I'm like, then we got all the flavors now. I'm a big fan. Okay, not a sponsor or anything like that, but it's just a great product. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.